Welcome. This is Kish Yardy Nation Gaming. Here to break down the type of black man that black women must avoid in the dating game. This type of man is very dangerous, very destructive to patriarchy, very destructive to black male masculinity, and he's very destructive in society. And I'm going to show you why black women should avoid this person at all costs. Because if I could create content telling black men the type of black woman to avoid, I could tell black women the type of black man to avoid. So let's begin. The black male archetype to avoid. The Silk Salvatore. The Marxist-style player who protects chaos under the guise of masculinity. Summary. Silk Salvatore is a confident, intelligent, non-monogamous man who pretends to be masculine, conscious, or enlightened, but ultimately undermines traditional values to protect bad behavior in women, particularly those who reject structure, discipline, or accountability. He uses traditional male language, New Age spiritualism, or woke slogans to confuse women and disarm good men. What he believes, even if unconsciously. Surface beliefs, what he really means. Real men don't judge women's past. What he means, I want to keep access to 3 or 4s without scrutiny. Women are divine, even if they're wild. I profit from the chaos and dysfunction. Monogamy is a social construct. I don't want to commit or be held accountable. Traditional men are insecure. Traditional men threaten my sexual dominance. Open love is freedom. I'm afraid of exclusive responsibility. Now, it's funny how a lot of Marxists would say monogamy is a social construct, but open relationships is also a social construct. Non-monogamy is also a social construct. But let's continue. Post-rates. Speaks fluently in masculine and traditional language, but uses it to protect modern dysfunction, defends promiscuous, rebellious women while shaming loyal traditional men. Right? This is what they call loyal traditional men betas and weak and all that other stuff. Right? Projects false spiritual or conscious masculinity, but never leads, builds, or protects real legacy. Functions like cultural Marxists. He resists order, exclusivity, and male hierarchy, even if he sounds pro-black or profound. Highly intelligent, but his intelligence is weaponized to manipulate women and keep men divided. Silk doesn't lead a nation. He runs a hot harem and calls it liberation. He talks about kings and gods, but refuses to build a kingdom. He seduces insecure or rebellious women by offering them freedom from patriarchy. He emasculates traditional men who expect. You notice that they never say that an insecure woman is a person that rebels against patriarchy. You never call a woman insecure for that, but they call a man insecure for wanting a virgin or wanting a woman that's going to be sexually exclusive to him. It's funny. He emasculates traditional men who expect standards or structure. He's a walking contradiction, a man who uses masculine energy to undermine masculine structure. And that is why the Silk Salvatore is very dangerous. Why women fall for him? Silk's appeal. He's deep spiritual conscious. He's anti-discipline and anti-accountability. He listens and validates me. He enables dysfunction and poor decisions. He accepts me for who I am. He won't need you to become a better woman. He's not controlling like other men. He also won't protect, commit, or cover you. Notice how a lot of those men are not controlling of women, but at the same time, he's into open relationships. You know what I'm saying? He got rosters and shit. Right? So let's go. Red flags. He defends promiscuous women publicly while shaming patriarchal men. He always says real men don't care about body count. He uses traditional terms like king, warrior, divine masculine that has no traditional behavior. He says he believes in family but avoids marriage, legacy, or long-term structure. He believes open relationships are the future. This is what a lot of them preach, right? Cultural depth, even though open relationships are not proven. Now, statistically, not many of them, right? Cultural damage he causes. He confuses women about what real masculinity is. He emasculates good men who stand for accountability, chastity, and legacy. He promotes sex culture in the name of freedom, but leaves women broken, single, and unprotected. This is why a lot of them protect 304s and wants you dudes to accept 304s because after he fucks them and leaves them single, he wants you to get into a relationship with them so they don't feel broken. Right? He's a Marxist saboteur, protecting chaotic women the way Marxism protects rebellion and open borders, to break down traditional power. Remember, patriarchy is the objective traditional value. Now, how do you protect that objectivity? You need the majority of society on the individual level to be patriarchal, to be traditional. That's what protects the environment. That's what protects the objective overall of society, right? So Marxism has to destroy the nuclear family. That's monogamous, that's patriarchal, in order to destroy the objective patriarchy, right? Message to black women. If you want a husband, not a situationship. If you want a father for your kids, not a babysitter. If you want to be led, protected, and cherished, then stay far away from Silk Salvatore. He'll sell you a dream of liberation, but he'll leave you with regret. He's not your king. He's the enemy of structure and the friend of rebellion, and the temporary thrill that leads to permanent disappointment. Right? Before I get into this, that is why you see a lot of guys up here, Silk Salvatores, shaming traditional men into accepting you women after you've gone through your 304 phase. Because after they slutted you out and turned you into a 304, they're not going to wife you up. So they're shaming traditional men into accepting you so you can be wifed up, so that you can keep your box open. And it's not to benefit men, it's to benefit themselves and cause chaos. Silk and the players, cultural Marxists in disguise. Men like Silk players, pimps, and New Age Max are unknowing cultural Marxists. They protect the very chaos that destroys community under the guise of freedom or game, using traditional language to disarm traditional men while empowering women who reject traditional behavior. Right? So the only reason why Silk manipulation can work, or players manipulation can work, is because they're manipulating the fact that you women have been programmed by feminism and Marxism to hate traditional behavior. Right? To hate traditional behavior that protects, provides, and gatekeeps their bodies. You understand? That's how players get women to cheat on their husbands. They'll use the fact that you might be having one issue with your husband, and then they'll exploit that, enlarge that, make it extreme, and then get you to dislike your husband and then cheat on your husband. Even though it's one disagreement. Your husband could be good in 100 areas, but you could have one issue. I mean, your husband could be good in 99% of the time. But that 1% where he's not good, that's what you have the bigger issue with. And then the players exploit that and get you to cheat on your husband. And then what happens is the player will blame that man for not doing that one thing you didn't like. Because he's trying to protect you and your misbehavior, and then excuse himself or don't hold himself accountable for influencing you to cheat on your husband. Right? Silk and the players, culture Marxists in disguise. These men speak confidently, fluently in the language of masculinity, provide a leader, protect your alpha. But they redirect their energy to protect women who rebel against male leadership rather than uphold instruction. They're not defending women, they're defending sexual access, ego, and chaos. He's not protecting her honor, he's protecting his rotation. This is Marxist in nature because it mirrors Marxist rebellion against traditional hierarchy. Father, family, God. These men undermine masculine authority while pretending to embody it. Shame traditional men using values they don't actually believe in. Neutralize patriarchy without openly attacking it. They are Trojan horses inside a house of masculinity. Yes, they are. How to use traditional language as a weapon. The trap. Real men don't slut shame. A man who truly is masculine accepts a woman's path. If you're more secure, you wouldn't care about body count. Back in the day, kings had multiple wives. That's how they sound. What's happening here? They're using the traditional male instinct to be honorable, strong, and sacrificial to guilt men into sons. Why does it work? because most men are socially and biologically wired for traditional roles. So when they're told they're not real men, it triggers shame and forces them to submit out of integrity. It's the same thing with women, right? In Black culture, they've trained women to look at dudes who took you out on a date as a sucker or a trick, to disrespect. So now, every time a man does that for you, the automatic program that triggers in your brain is to disrespect that dude that took you out on a date. He probably could have took you to Shake Shack or Applebee's or something like that. But because of the player Marxist programming into Black culture, you're programmed to look at that as disrespectful. Right? Traditionalism without authority is castration. You can't use traditional language to shame men who those men no longer have. When those men no longer have traditional power. In the 1950s or Victorian age, men could require chastity, exclusivity, respect, and domestic behavior because society backed them up. Today, you're told to still behave like a gentleman without the respect, honor, or leadership that came with it. Right? The angry man points this out a lot. Right? That's not traditionalism. That's male servitude in a drag. So when Silk types say a real man would ask, do real men still have power? If not, then stop trying to force us to carry the burdens without the benefits. And I hate that bullshit. I hate that you niggas expect men, Black men, to be consistent to things, or consistent to women when it's not beneficial to them. You just keep doing it. Keep doing the thing that you're not benefiting from, but's harming you. Keep being consistent. Keep consistently touching the hot stove and get burnt. This is sexual communism. Here's the sick genius of it. Just like Marxism says, no one should have too much wealth or property. Sexual Marxism says no one should have too much exclusivity, boundaries, or standards. And men like Silk play middlemen for this ideology by undermining chastity, shaming men who want traditional women, defending bad behavior in women because it benefits them sexually, gaslighting traditional men with their own values. It's reverse psychology. They guilt the protector into laying down his sword. So as the protector, you're supposed to gatekeep your woman. You gatekeep your house. You gatekeep the pussy. Now every man is supposed to have access to it. But these men want to disarm you dudes so that they can have access. So they can fuck your wife without you chopping their head off. Because if it was in the Victorian age, you'd be able to do that. Right? They always use the exception to justify the collapse. They always say we're in an open relationship and it's working for us. That's like heroin addicts saying, I've been using it for 3 years and I'm still alive. Exceptions don't build civilization. Exceptions don't raise nations. Structure is the majority. Chaos is the few. Civilizations stand on norms, patterns, predictability. You don't build a dam out of expectation. You don't build a dam out of exceptions. My fault. Exceptions don't build I gotta reread this. Exceptions don't build civilizations. Exceptions don't raise nations. Structure is for the majority. Chaos is for the few. You don't build a dam out of exceptions. You build it out of what works for the many. Right? And that's it right there. Add this. Now, my observation about these Silk types, they never praise or respect tradition. So let's get into it. These men, let's call them Silk Salvatore types, play a very specific psychological game. They don't praise virginity, honor modesty, respect submission and virtue, celebrate family building or wifehood. But what they do is strategically avoid attacking the traditional women directly. Instead, they attack the men who value traditional women. Y'all obsessed with virgin. Y'all are weak for wanting submission, you bitch ass nigga. Only secure men want a trash woman, nigga. Right? You want a maid, not a partner. This is indirect disrespect. They don't critique the virtuous woman. They mock the man who honors her. Why? Because critiquing traditional women outright would expose their bias. So they shift the target. I can see you niggas. Shield promiscuous women from critique. Don't shame single moms. Real force can still be watched. She's just expressing her sexuality. Men are just as bad. They defend bad behavior in women not because it's good, but because it's profitable to their ego or social capital. Silk thrives in chaos. He needs a marketplace flooded with brokenness to play God in. This is what the niggas who say, I got the biggest game. I got the most game in the world, nigga. But to validate their game, when it comes to sexual access and getting sex, they need a market to be flooded with sex. So, like their game is not going to work in a traditional marketplace. Simps never directly praise anything traditional. Instead, they stay out of other people's relationships, let people live how they want, stop gatekeeping what women do. But their neutrality only exists when women are in rebellion. When men force standards, they become the aggressors. Translation, they're not neutral. They just don't want male leadership to come back into power. Let me read that again. But their neutrality only exists when women are in rebellion. When men enforce standards, they become the aggressors. Meaning, if you have a black manosphere and you have a red pill, and they're enforcing standards onto the women, then they become hostile. But they don't say anything when the women are out here be lying to men, disrespecting men, running game on them. Right? They're not neutral. They just don't want male leadership to come back to power. So what they do is they use a remixed version of leadership, right? Which is laced with feminism. So that remixed version is real men don't hold women accountable. You hold yourself accountable, which that's bullshit. That's like the general of a military. You don't hold the military accountable. You hold yourself accountable. No, a general has to hold the military accountable to certain standards so that the military doesn't go haywire or become rebellious. Same thing when it comes to dating, mating, and regular civilian life, right? The manipulation strategy in summary. Behavior, traditional male standards, right? They critique traditional men, who they defend promiscuous women, single mothers. Behavior, male gatekeeping, who they critique, men who guard virtue, who they defend, women who reject correction, right? Behavior, sexual discernment, who they critique, men who want chaste wives, who they defend, women who broadcast rebellion, right? Biblical values, who they critique, men who follow them, who they defend, women who dismiss them, right? They reverse the target to protect this function. They make men feel ashamed for honoring what is honorable, while simultaneously guarding dysfunction women as a virtue. They won't say traditional women are a problem. Instead, they'll say, why are you so obsessed about our past? They won't say single mothers should be avoided. Instead, they say real men step up. This is how Silk flips the script and manipulates the moral lens and keeps weak men disoriented. Now, before somebody says, I'm dirty macking, this is what it is. Dirty mountaineering or dirty macking is when a man tears another man down in front of women, not because he treats the culture or to her, but because he wants her for validation from himself. The selfish, manipulative is designed to win favor with women at another man's expense, even if the other man did nothing wrong. That's what Silk does. That's what players, Max and Simps do when they shame traditional men for wanting virtue, exclusivity, and standards. What I'm doing is not dirty man. I'm calling out the patterns of harm, not just for individuals or for clouds. I'm not trying to sleep with women. I'm trying to protect them from deception. I am defending structure, order, and tradition. Right? I'm not listing. I'm listing up standards, not lowering them to manipulate women emotionally. Right? I'm not saying pick me instead. I'm saying don't be picked by lies. So I'm not dirty Mac. Silk Salvatore's dirty Mac first, right? They say only insecure men want virgin. They only weak men want submission. You're not a real man if you won't accept a single mom with back. That traditional guy, he's dusty, controlling, and insecure. They're dirty Mac against masculine order, against family, against patriarchy, and against legacy. So me exposing you is not dirty Mac. It's just exposing. I'm not tearing down men for access to women. I'm tearing down lies to protect both men and women from destruction, which is what I'm doing. I'm trying to protect the environment we live in because I understand that the environment we live in is a vital role for all of us to keep being individuals and for the future of our children. Right? But at the end of the day, I make these things so that if this civilization collapses and falls, whoever's there to rebuild might find this video, might find this content, and then learn from this content and rebuild something way better than what we have now. But anyway, this is Kish Shirley Gaming Nation. Like, share, and subscribe.